Hi everyone, you are listening to Planet Patrol, a project of EY Past WFA Environment CSR. Planet Patrol podcast brings to you inspiring stories of people on the front line of environmental conservation. I am Monica Palad and I am your host. In this episode, we will talk to engineer Kathleen Benitez, marine researcher from the Department of Agriculture, National Fisheries Research and Development Institute in the Philippines. So, National Fisheries Research and Development Institute in the Philippines is a government
Mhm.
agency in the Philippines. What exactly do they do?
Actually, NFRDI is not yet a well-known institute because before that, 3 years ago, we were under the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. Like, I'm sure everyone is really familiar with that. So before, so after three
Mm-hmm.
years, now we have our own identity. So our mother agency is the Department of Agriculture now. So yeah, so we were under the DA. And more NFRDI, it is more of a scientific side of what the BIFAR is doing. So we propose studies, we conduct studies, we made sampling, and also we conducted laboratory analysis, different analysis of our fishes, more on seafood safety, where more on seafood safety and other stuff. And also with these studies and researches we have published and we have made, we will really forward it to the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, wherein the BFAR would make some policies, would make some regulations, would make some standards, and then after they made that, they will implement it to the society or the community involved. So mainly, NFRDI is someone who's giving a scientific background or scientific reasons on
Basis,
why
yeah.
BFAR, basis on why BFAR is doing this and that. So we were like
Mm,
a research arm of BFAR. So we're doing
right.
a lot of analysis. So I can mention a lot of analysis, like if you really want to know what we've been really doing. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. That's really the role of NFRDI.
So primarily, Kat, what you do is like you're like the think tank of Bureau of Fisheries, wherein because from how I understand it, you do research for different marine wildlife in the Philippines, and based on your research, you do. Well, you'll recommend different conclusions to the
Yeah,
bureau so that the
yeah,
bureau
yeah,
can
yeah.
recommend, let's say, laws or policies
Mm-hmm.
to, let's say, the Congress, to the senators, or
Mm-hmm.
even to the
Yeah,
president to
yeah, yeah.
protect marine wildlife in the Philippines, right?
Yeah, that's really true. And actually, if I would also like to share, like we also have a laboratory. I'm also working in a lab. So there's one time, like since we tied up with before and some of these exporters. So since there are regulations, especially like in the Philippines and under Philippine law, we have this illegal. It's really illegal to catch or to sell this prohibited marine life. So say for example, last time we had a sample submitted to us like Napoleon wrasse and then shark and then also giant clams and then seahorse like
Mm-hmm.
seahorse because seahorse most of the since this is also a medicinal it has a medicinal property, so most of them really harvested and it's really not allowed. And then also for giant clams, I think there's one time because of that, it was really a case. Like there's a case filed for
Exporter.
this specific exporter because
Mm-hmm.
it's not really allowed and it's really illegal under the Philippine law. So that time, we were responsible for that because we do species authentication or species ID. So since there's a lot of species there's a lot of species living.
Yeah.
So as our job, mainly as an FRDI, we identify like what kind of species is that. So mainly more on the specific species. Yeah, so more on through that, like our laboratory and an FRDI, is also a way in order to really regulate these exporters who are really bad and just like
Yeah.
exploiting the mother nature has given to us, especially what's underneath the ocean. So yeah,
Right.
that's like one thing also that I've really admired in my organization because aside from uh, aside from it gives me satisfaction to work with people, it also helps the government and also the people and the community.
Right. Actually, Kat, I admire you for the work that you do for marine wildlife because as an engineer of national fisheries research, you look for scientific properties
Yeah.
of these
Mm,
species, and then you recommend it for, to let's say lawmakers or
yeah,
policymakers.
yeah,
But
yeah,
at the
yeah.
same time, there's also a legal aspect that you're looking after, because based on what I understand from your explanation, there's like laws within the Philippines that you cannot catch these type of let's say species.
Mm,
And
mm,
because of the work that you do, like species identification, you're like authenticating that yes, we're right with our claim that you cannot catch this kind of species,
mm.
therefore you need to pay this kind of penalties. So Kat, in your opinion, what are the best ways of preserving endangered marine species?
So, but for me, there are just three things that's really uh, very important for in order for us to conserve and to preserve our marine species and marine wildlife. So first and foremost, I believe like there's a saying as it goes, like be the change you want the world to see. So from
Right.
that alone, I believe that the change should start within us. So it should start within each people. So how can we do that change? So how can we start or how can we be a catalyst of change? So like for say for example, I'm also I'm a scuba diver also, and I'm also a free diver, not really free diver, but I'm doing free diving.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, it's always an issue like, okay, my God, now I'm exposed to sun, so I need to
Mm-hmm.
have a sunscreen. So after that, when I work in the institute and also I've become a licensed diver, a scuba diver, so I was like really become conscious with the products I'm using, especially
Right.
with sunscreen. Yeah, it's like really, everywhere. Filipinos. So Filipinos hate to be really tanned. So yeah, it's like a common thing for Filipinos. I mean, every products we have more on whitening and all.
Right.
So Filipinos really love being white, but for me, that's not the case. But I just want to protect my son from my skin from the harmful rays of the sun because it's also can cause skin diseases and cancer. So from that,
Right.
I've become really conscious. So now I really pick products that are really friendly because if
Mm-hmm.
you pick those sunscreen which are really not friendly, they have this certain chemical in them, and then they will dissolve and they will be washed out in your body, and it will also create or cause harm to our coral reefs and other fishes. So
Right.
that alone I can really help in saving the and preserving our marine life because I'm really into diving and all stuff. And then for me, second also, like for the and that for the environmental, and then for second also maybe, no, not maybe, but I think I would like to tell people like, okay, don't throw your stuff in the waters
Your
because
garbage.
in
Yeah.
the air, yeah, don't throw your garbage. Let's say for example, plastic, they mimic or they look like jellyfish. And for
Mm-hmm.
sea turtles, like I think Monica, you really watch in TV or many shows
Yeah.
wherein these plastics were ingested by the sea turtles.
Turtles. Yes, I've
Yeah,
heard of that. Those.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, just start within yourself, and if you start within yourself, it would replicate. Like just start within yourself, and then it would just replicate also. So people will do
Right.
it. Since people okay. So yeah, that alone. So you should start within yourself, and then second also spread awareness. So I think spreading awareness is a lot of NGOs are doing this, but I think more on, I mean, keep on spreading awareness. Like this podcast. I'm so really grateful and thankful to Monica also and to the
Yeah,
entire company for giving me a
yeah,
good platform and
right.
opportunity also to share my knowledge and also my experiences and what I've been doing and stuff. So it's
Yeah,
really a good thing that we should always spread awareness through podcasts, through videos, through, I mean, we are also fond of Facebook, so at least we should post also awareness in Facebook and Instagram. And also, one thing also for spreading awareness through leaflets and newsletters, and among others, like since social
yeah.
media and we are digitalized, so it's just one click and it can be shared all around the world in just 1 second. And
That's true.
then
Mhm.
yeah. So, and lastly, I mean, the most important thing for me is how on how we can really preserve it or conserve the marine life is for us to communicate with our public servants and with our legislators because it's really important now. As I have mentioned before, we already have laws, but I think it's not really properly implemented in our country because I really, I'm doing field works. So more on my approach is in the community and the people who are really involved. So when I ask them, like, oh, what the government is doing and all, I know there are laws, but it's not properly implemented. Or
Right.
also our government agencies or LGUs or our congressmen and legislators, they also must have considered like how to really have proper implementation and also make laws in order to tighten more this to tighten more on how we can really preserve and
Yeah.
conserve our our, our resources
Marine, yeah, yeah.
underwater. Yeah, because say for example, like cyanide fishing, I know there's already a law for that, but there's a specific place where I know, like I just don't want to mention, but there's a
In the
specific place,
Philippines, yeah.
yeah, in the Philippines, like they still been doing that cyanide fishing, and cyanide is very dangerous and lethal. So it also kills our fishes, and it also kills our marine life, and it also kills the algae. Algae is also
Mhm.
the main source of food of our fishes and other animals underwater, and also it really kills badly our coral reef. So I think the government and legislators should also focus on these matters because since they have the power, so they can really properly make good regulations and policies so that to properly have this kind of uh, so that we can achieve and conserve our marine resources.
Right. Thanks, Kat, for that elaborate answer. I think my experience with that is that there's really a lot of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
ideas that we can put together as to
Yeah,
how we can conserve marine wildlife. But the
yeah,
problem is
really.
with the implementation because there's
Yeah.
lack of support in terms of and also monitoring from certain agencies about
Mm.
the implementation of certain programs. And I also do agree with you that cyanide fishing is very dangerous, not only for the fishes and the coral reefs, but also to people who will also digest that because
Yeah.
it contains
Mhm.
a lot of chemicals, which are bad for our health.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
think well, as in line with that, we should we should also, I think about in terms of preserving endangered marine species. I think there's also a good opportunity for companies like us, like for
Yeah.
example here
Mhm.
in EY, to work with different NGOs or communities as to how can we spread awareness. Should we, let's say, create like you've mentioned earlier, should we create leaflets? Should we create
Mm.
training guides? Should we create learning materials for people within the community so that they get to understand what's how to protect the environment, or maybe why cyanide fishing is dangerous. So I think if there's a good opportunity for private organizations to come together and
Mm.
work with communities and NGOs to spread this type of awareness. So again, Kathleen, in maybe my last two questions for you.
Yeah. Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
This is very interesting, but
Yeah.
what do you think are some of the reasons for near extinction of some marine species?
Nothing really much with extinction, but there are also some endangered species that we really need to preserve. Like for
Mm-hmm.
example, the giant clams, specifically the sea turtles. It's listed as one of the marine life that we should really need to protect. Also the dugong. I'm not really sure now because last time I know it's already endangered. So,
Mm-hmm.
but basing on the list of the Philippines, we have sea turtles most
Right.
specifically that is really endangered. Also, at the same time, we have sharks and manta rays, but not really endangered. But the government have legislations so that they won't really go extinct. So before the problem occur, they already have preventive maintenance so that this species will really not go extinct. So they need to be preserved. But actually, it's
Right.
really different from different countries because some countries would really allow the slaughter of sharks. So it really depends on
Yeah.
different regulations. Like for example, in sardines, we have this no harvesting season for how many months, and then so that in the next months, that's the time where you can really harvest.
Kat, we have a phone-in question, no? Why is marine conservation important for people?
Future generations, like all our future generations, can also enjoy what we have enjoyed now. Because basically, I really enjoyed being in the waters. So I think we people should really have this kind of idea that okay, uh, I shouldn't be the only one who will enjoy the bounty of our nature. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
all our future generations should also enjoy, and
Right.
so that our future generations should enjoy, then we people should really have the make some regulations and also be responsible for ourselves to protect and to conserve the resources that we have.
Actually, Kat, it's very interesting that you've mentioned that. And it's a very nice way to, to summarize what we have discussed today.
You know, I really like in my Instagram or in my Facebook, I'm also spreading awareness, and through my and through my shots and also through my pictures, like you know, it's also really makes my heart happy whenever someone would really DM me or message me like, "Oh, Kath, I really like what you've been doing. I want to be in that field also. I want to try scuba diving. I want to do free diving. I'm really." Some would even tell me like, "I'm really happy with everything you shared because I mean, I want to take this path and all." So it's like really a good thing that through in different platforms, through social media and through blogs, people will just really take interest, and then you know as what I've been saying, if you start within yourself, it will just replicate. Now I've seen a lot of my friends in high school and colleges, like they've been doing free diving, they've been doing
Right.
scuba diving, so it just replicates.
Kat, that is so inspirational. I've learned so much about what you do for the environment, what you do for the organization, what you do for the country. I really admire you, Kat, for, everything that you do. In behalf of Environment CSR, we thank you, Kat, for your time today, and I'm sure that everyone who will listen to our podcast today will be inspired by your story.